Yo, yo, YouTube, what's up? It's your boy, Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back with another video for you guys. Some great information. Please click the like button, subscribe to my channel. It helps me grow this channel, guys. I'm new to this. So this video is going to be about just a quick one about Jordan, how Michael Jordan needed to be a scorer, right? He needed to be a scorer, right? If Michael Jordan didn't score, the Bulls would never have won anything. I don't care about this player or that player or this guy or that guy. If Michael Jordan did not score or was not as great of a scorer as he was, the Bulls would never have won anything. They would have never won anything. So please, guys, listen. You know, we see a lot of people on social media these days. A lot of people in these debates, they try to make it as if, you know, the only thing Michael Jordan did was score. And they try to even downplay that. But we all know the truth, right? And I've heard people say this before, and this is what we have to do. We can't let them rewrite history, right? You cannot let them rewrite history that we witnessed. We watched this. We watched the games. We watched these years. We watched the things happen. And now, you know, 20, 30, 40 years later, people are trying to rewrite history and try to make us, you know, second guess what we saw. And that's not right. We can't allow that to happen, everybody. So, you know, people like me and, you know, people who have been doing it for years on social media have been debunking a lot of these myths and these lies that people spread. And like I said, we can't let them rewrite history. So what I see a lot is people trying to make it seem as if, one, Michael Jordan was just a scorer, right? Because that was only his own responsibility. I've heard some idiot Channing Frye said something like that a couple years ago or something, that all Michael Jordan had to do was score. He didn't have to do anything else. You know, like he said he made himself look like an idiot, because we all know that's not the truth. You know, and then secondly, you have people who will say all he had to do was score, but then downplay his scoring. So it doesn't make any sense. You know, like I said, on one hand, you have people saying all he did was score, and then on the other hand, they're saying that his scoring was not that impressive or wasn't that big of a deal, or or whatever the case was or whatever. So what we need to understand right away, though, right from the top, whenever you say things like, you know, Michael Jordan was just a scorer, right there you expose yourself as not a true basketball fan or having any knowledge of the game of basketball, or you never seen Michael Jordan play. Because if you ever hear anybody say Michael Jordan was just a scorer, do not continue to talk basketball with that person. Because if they say that and they're telling and they believe that deep down and they're being 100% serious with you, end that conversation right there and do not discuss basketball with them any longer, because they obviously do not know basketball. That's one of the most idiotic statements I've ever heard anybody say, that Michael Jordan just scored the basketball. But what you have to look at, though, or have to understand, is that Michael Jordan had to score. He had to score. If Michael Jordan did not average 30 plus points a game, the Bulls would never have won anything. And why is that? The reason that is because Michael Jordan never played with another scorer. He never played with another scorer ever in the history of his career, right? And we're not going to talk about the Wizards yet. We're focusing mainly on the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, his prime, his entire career of the Bulls. That man never played with another scorer. You name me one scorer that Michael Jordan played with that could go and get his own shot at any time and could take over a game if Michael Jordan was off, or if Michael Jordan was tired, or if Michael Jordan was, you know, just not in that mood or something like that. You name me one person. If you tell me Scottie Pippen was a scorer, please do not comment that Scottie Pippen was a scorer in my comments. I will not acknowledge that. And if you believe that Scottie Pippen is a scorer, once again, conversation is over. I'm not talking basketball with you any longer. Scottie Pippen was not a scorer. Scottie Pippen was a very good to great defensive player that had a couple of decent, you know, ways that he can make a basket. Scottie Pippen could not get his own shot with any kind of consistency. And if you're going to sit there and tell me that he could, you've never watched Scottie Pippen play, because Scottie Pippen could not do that. That was his biggest problem. And then on top of that, Scottie Pippen could not shoot with any kind of consistency. Scottie Pippen was like a 72% free throw shooter for his career. Scottie Pippen was like a career like 45% shooter or something like that for his career. Scottie Pippen was not one of those guys where he was having these great shooting seasons, man, and he was putting up points like that. It just wasn't his game. He was not a quote unquote scorer, right? He was a guy who played in the triangle system. He was a good facilitator, right? And he was a good playmaker. He was not a scorer with any kind of consistency. How many 50-point games has Scottie Pippen had? Does anybody know? I don't know. I don't know. How many 40-point games has he had? I don't know, but I guarantee you it ain't more than a couple, if any. So his scoring was not there. So when you talk about, you hear people say, oh, Michael Jordan, all he had to do was score. No, it wasn't that's all he had to do. It was the fact that if he didn't score, they would not win. It was just that simple. Now, let's not talk about the regular season right now. Let's focus on the playoffs specifically. Michael Jordan always led his team in points per game. He always did that. There was no other series where Michael Jordan was beat out by Scottie Pippen in points per game, or Horace Grant in points per game, or any of these guys in points per game. Michael Jordan was the leading scorer in every series he played for the Chicago Bulls. So think about that consistency. So think about what that means. That means that there was nobody else that was able to score. And what's crazy too is when you look at the numbers in a lot of these playoff series individually, Michael Jordan was doubling up what Pippen was doing almost every single series. Let's say Pippen averaged 17 points a game. Jordan was averaging 32, 34, 35 points a game. Pippen's averaging 18, Jordan's averaging, 35. It's just crazy when you look at the numbers, man. It wasn't that he was scoring 2, 3, 4 points more than his next player on his team. Michael Jordan was consistently scoring 10, 15 plus points more than the next player on the list in those playoff series. Now, yeah, there were a couple of series early on in his career when you had a guy like Orlando Woolridge there, maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons. And maybe Orlando Woolridge, Jordan, let's say Jordan averaged 28 points a game, maybe or Woolridge averaged a 20 or 21 or something like that or whatever. But for the majority of his career, and especially once they started winning, Jordan was the main guy. And the fact that people try to downplay it as if he was just scoring and doing nothing else is hilarious, especially when you look at the numbers. The man played in a system. He played in the triangle system and was still able to put up crazy all-around numbers when he didn't have to necessarily bring the ball up the court every single play, right? Which is why they went to Pippen bringing the ball up, because they had to give Jordan a little bit of rest and also not let the defense just focus on him bringing the ball up the court. It allowed him to get a little bit free of movement, which is also something that he doesn't get a lot of credit for, is moving off the ball, right? Learning how to play off the ball more in the triangle system. The fact that Jordan had to score 30 points a game for the Bulls to win is mind-blowing when you think about it. Has there ever been another player in history, maybe besides a Wilt Chamberlain, let's say, that had to literally score 30 points a game every single playoff series for them to have a legitimate shot at just winning? Especially early on. We all know early on in the career, Jordan had to score damn near 40 points a game just for them to even be competitive, let alone win a game. But then as it got later on, in the early 90s into the dynasty years, Michael Jordan still, the burden remained. It never lessened. The burden remained. As a matter of fact, the burden on Michael Jordan got greater as the years waned on. So like in 91, for example, and 92, for example, his scoring was not needed as much in those, let's say, those playoffs, let's say, for example, because, you had other guys helping you a little bit. But like I said, once again, though, Jordan still had to put up a lot of money, put up a lot of points. But as those years went on, and especially into the second three-peat, those last couple of championship years, especially like in 1998, I mean, if you look at the Bulls, I think the team averaged like 90-something points a game, and Jordan was averaging 28 points a game for the season. So you're talking about a dude almost averaging a third of the points during the regular season. And once the playoffs came, especially in the finals, it was even greater. I think to this day, Jordan still has the record for most points accounted for, or the highest percentage of points accounted for in an NBA Finals. Because they were averaging like 80 some points a game, and Jordan was averaging like 30 points a game. So you know, it's crazy. He was almost averaging almost half the points, and he was averaging like 40% of the Bulls' points. So when you think about that, and when you look at that, and then you hear people say all he had to do was score, as if it, no, Michael Jordan, not only did he have to score, he had to be on. He couldn't be a guy that was shooting 25, 30 shots a game and only making 10 of them joints. They weren't going to win that way. So when people try to make it seem as if Michael Jordan was a ball hog, or Michael Jordan was a chucker, or Michael Jordan, all he did was score, it's hilarious to me, and it's laughable, because all you have to do is watch the games, and you'll know that that's not the case. If you actually watched the games, then you would know that that's completely false or whatever. And the fact that you try to downplay what Jordan was doing is crazy, because like I said, if Jordan was shooting 42, 45% from the field in any of those, a lot of those seasons and a lot of those series, you know, and not averaging 30, the Bulls would have lost those series easily. They would have lost against the Knicks in 93. They would have lost against the Knicks in 92. They would have lost against the Lakers in the 91 finals. They damn sure would have lost against the Suns in the 93 finals. I mean, the man had averaged 42 points a game in the NBA finals just for them to win that series. If Michael Jordan would have averaged 35 points a game in that series, they lose that series. That's crazy when you think about that. The man had to average 40 for them to win. But then people make it seem like all he had to do was score. No, Michael Jordan, he didn't have to just score. He had to score historically for the Bulls to win. He had to be a historically great scorer for the Bulls to win. He didn't have to average 25, 26, 27 points a game. The man had to have the all-time NBA record for most points per game in a career for the Bulls to win. That's what he had to do to win. And he had to be efficient at doing that, and also playing elite level defense on the other end, which people never speak about, especially these days. No one puts any stock in defense anymore. Whenever you hear people talk about numbers, they're always talking about these offense numbers. They're always talking about one side of the ball. Rarely do you hear people talk about, you know, the other side of the ball. The only player that is doing it or gets mentioned with those kind of things is like a Giannis, you know, because he's a great offensive player and a great defensive player. So that's the thing with Michael Jordan. People, he had to score. The dude was the best scorer in the league, and he was the top defensive player at his position in the league for many, many years, not just one or two fluke seasons. The dude was consistent and considered one of the great defenders when he played every single season, right? He didn't just have like a fluke year or a couple of years here where he was stout and then he fell off. The man was stout every single year. It didn't matter what age he was at, how many, playoff runs they did, how deep the playoff runs were. He was always both ends of the court for 82 games. All right, so I just wanted to hit that up real quick, guys. I appreciate you guys watching my video. Man, Michael Jordan was way more than just a scorer, man. And if you think that Michael Jordan was just a scorer, like I said, you need to watch the games. You don't know the basketball history. I'm not going to debate with you. I'm not going to have a conversation with you. All right? Michael Jordan was elite on both ends of the floor. No one has been as good offensively and as good defensively in the history of the NBA. It just wasn't like that, man. No one. And especially in the modern era. I'm not going to talk about, before the modern era, but in the modern era, no one has been as great offensively and great defensively ever. So for people to try to make it seem like he was just a scorer, it's laughable, man. Michael Jordan did everything he had to do. He was a utility man. He did everything for those Bulls teams. Whatever they needed. If they needed rebounding, if somebody was hurt and they needed rebounding, Jordan could do that. If they needed scoring, obviously Jordan could do that. If they need someone to get locked up, Jordan could do that. He can do anything that you needed him to do. When you needed someone to get vocal, Jordan did that, right? You need someone to lead by example, Jordan did that. You need someone to blow you in practice, to get in your face in practice, Jordan did that. He did any and everything. So don't try to pigeonhole one of the greatest athletes in American sports history as some, one-hit wonder or one side of the ball guy or one-dimensional player. All right? Don't do it.